She answered the door, just like she always did. The same house, the same routine, the same quiet nod of recognition. The man standing before her wasn't a stranger. She had trusted him. She had shared meals with him. He had been in her home, around her child, part of her world. There was no hesitation as she let him in. But this time, something was different. Hours turned into a full day. A full day turned into 2. Calls went straight to voicemail. No updates, no replies. A missed dinner, a broken pattern, an unsettling quiet. Then, a name. One name kept coming up, again and again. This wasn't just a missing persons case. It wasn't just a mother and daughter who vanished. There were signs, warnings, red flags that no one saw. Or maybe no one wanted to see. What really happened inside that house? What secrets were buried beneath carefully crafted lies? And how did one decision, one moment, change everything? Stay with me. Because this story, it doesn't end the way you think it will. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed. Because of stories like this, they deserve to be told. And you won't want to miss what comes next. It was a Thursday evening, just like any other. The sun had set hours ago, leaving the streets bathed in artificial light. Inside her home, she moved through the familiar motions: dinner, bath time, bedtime stories. It was routine, the kind that made life feel predictable. Safe, the kind that made you believe that tomorrow would look just like today, that nothing could change in an instant. She had plans for the weekend, a trip, an outing, something to look forward to. A normal life filled with normal things, small, unremarkable moments that, in hindsight, would hold far more meaning than anyone could have imagined. Because this was the last time anyone would ever see her alive. The first sign that something was wrong came the next day. An unanswered call, a missed appointment. A growing unease settled in the pit of the stomach, the kind that couldn't be reasoned away. Messages sent, calls ignored. The hours stretched longer, suffocating under the weight of silence. And then, slowly, piece by piece, a name began to surface. A name no one wanted to hear. A name that would unravel everything. It wasn't just a disappearance. It wasn't just a case of someone walking away and choosing to start over. This was something else, something far worse. And as investigators traced every step, followed every lead, one truth became terrifyingly clear. She hadn't just vanished. She had been erased. This is the story of Jasmine Lovett, a story of trust misplaced, of moments overlooked, of answers buried beneath lies. But the truth has a way of coming to the surface, no matter how deep someone tries to hide it. In the heart of Calgary, a city known for its towering skyscrapers and expansive prairies, lived Jasmine Lovett, a vibrant young mother with dreams as vast as the Alberta sky. Her days were filled with the laughter of her 22-month-old daughter, Aliyah Sanderson, whose curious eyes saw the world as a place of endless wonder. But beneath these captured smiles lay a story shrouded in darkness. A tale of trust, betrayal, and unimaginable loss. Jasmine Shania Lovett was born on October 24, 1995, in Moultrie, Georgia, to Connie Slater and Doremus Lindell Lovett. From a young age, Jasmine exhibited a zest for life, always surrounded by friends and family. Her infectious smile and caring nature made her a beloved figure in her community. She was always the life of the party, always caring for everyone around her. Jasmine had big dreams and worked hard to achieve them. In her early 20s, Jasmine relocated to Calgary, Canada, seeking new opportunities and a fresh start. It was here that she met Robert Leeming, a man who would become intricately woven into the fabric of her life. On June 24, 2017, Jasmine welcomed her daughter, Aliyah Lynn Sanderson, into the world. Born in Calgary, Aliyah was a beacon of light in Jasmine's life. Her playful demeanor and bright eyes brought joy to all who met her. Aliyah was such a happy child. She and Jasmine were inseparable. Their bond was beautiful to witness. As a single mother, Jasmine dedicated herself to providing the best life possible for Aliyah, balancing work and motherhood with grace and determination. Robert Leeming was born on September 2nd, 1949, in Tunbridge Wells, Kent, England. The youngest child of Edgar and Eileen, Robert had a sister, Elizabeth, and a brother, Stuart. He completed his secondary education in Erith, Kent, before embarking on a career that would eventually lead him to Canada. Robert was always a bit of a mystery. He kept to himself, but was known to be reliable in his work. After immigrating to Canada, Robert's path crossed with Jasmine's. Their relationship began amicably, with Robert offering support to Jasmine and Aliyah. However, as time progressed, underlying tensions and undisclosed truths began to surface, setting the stage for a tragic sequence of events. As we delve deeper into this story, we uncover the complexities of human relationships and the unforeseen consequences that can arise from misplaced trust. Stay with us as we unravel the events that led to the untimely demise of Jasmine Lovett and her daughter, Aliyah Sanderson, a story that serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the shadows that can lurk behind familiar faces. Before we continue, ensure you're subscribed to our channel. Stories like Jasmine and Aliyah's need to be told, and your support allows us to shed light on the truths that matter. In mid-April 2019, the lives of Jasmine Lovett and her 22-month-old daughter, Aliyah Sanderson, were intertwined with daily routines and familial bonds. However, a series of events during this period would lead to their sudden and tragic disappearance, leaving a community in shock and investigators searching for answers. April 16th marked the final day Jasmine Lovett communicated with her family and friends. Jasmine and Aliyah were expected at a family dinner, a regular gathering they seldom missed. Their absence was immediately felt, and concerns escalated when attempts to reach them went unanswered. Messages sent that day reflected her usual demeanor, showing no signs of distress or indication of the impending tragedy. This abrupt cessation of communication raised alarms among those close to her, as it was uncharacteristic for Jasmine to be out of touch. The family's growing unease led them to contact the Calgary Police Service, officially reporting Jasmine and Aliyah as missing persons. The report prompted an immediate response from law enforcement. Officers canvassed the Cranston neighborhood, distributing flyers and appealing to the public for any information regarding the whereabouts of the young mother and her daughter. As the days passed with no leads, the community's concern deepened. Candlelight vigils were held, and social media campaigns launched, all in hopes of bringing Jasmine and Aliyah home safely. Despite these efforts, the silence remained unbroken, and the search for answers continued. The timeline of events leading up to the disappearance of Jasmine Lovett and Aliyah Sanderson is marked by unanswered questions and unsettling contradictions. As we delve deeper into this case, we uncover the complexities of human relationships and the shadows that lurk behind closed doors. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Stories like Jasmine and Aliyah's need to be told, and your support allows us to shed light on the truths that matter. Upon receiving the missing persons report on April 23, 2019, Calgary Police Service, CPS, officers promptly initiated an investigation centered around the residence shared by Jasmine Lovett, her daughter Aliyah Sanderson, and Robert Leeming in the Cranston neighborhood. Forensic teams meticulously examined the townhouse, collecting evidence and seeking any indications of foul play. During the investigation, Robert Leeming, who shared a residence with Jasmine and Aliyah, provided statements regarding his interactions with them between April 16th and 18th. Initially, Leeming claimed that on April 16th, he accompanied Jasmine and Aliyah on a trip to Bragg Creek, a scenic area west of Calgary. He described a leisurely outing, mentioning they had a drink at a picnic area before returning home. As investigators delved deeper, discrepancies in Leeming's statements became apparent. These inconsistencies, coupled with the lack of communication from Jasmine after April 16th, heightened suspicions. Concurrently, investigators expanded their search to the Bragg Creek area, a location Leeming mentioned in his statements. He claimed to have taken Jasmine and Aliyah on an outing there on April 16th. This area, known for its dense forests and rugged terrain, became a focal point as search teams scoured for any signs of the missing mother and daughter. As the investigation progressed without significant breakthroughs, CPS turned to the public for assistance. They released photographs and descriptions of Jasmine and Aliyah, urging anyone with information to come forward. Press conferences were held to keep the community informed and to solicit tips that might aid in locating the missing pair. The public responded with an outpouring of support. Vigils were organized, and social media platforms buzzed with shared posts and appeals for information. Despite numerous tips, concrete leads remained elusive, prolonging the anguish of Jasmine and Aliyah's loved ones. On April 25, 2019, CPS arrested Robert Leeming as a person of interest in the case. He was taken into custody and questioned for 24 hours before being released without charges. Despite his release, CPS maintained that Leeming remained the primary suspect in the investigation. Following his release, Leeming engaged with the media, asserting his innocence and providing his account of events. He acknowledged an intimate relationship with Jasmine, but denied any involvement in her or Aliyah's disappearance. His public statements drew significant attention, adding complexity to the ongoing investigation. In the early hours of May 6, 2019, at approximately 4 a.m., the Calgary Police Service made a grim discovery in the Grizzly Creek area of Kananaskis Country, about 50 kilometers west of Calgary. The bodies of a woman and child, believed to be 25-year-old Jasmine Lovett and her 22-month-old daughter, Aliyah Sanderson, were found concealed in a wooded area. The secluded location where the bodies were discovered is known for its dense forests and rugged terrain, making it an ideal spot for concealment. The bodies were found buried in shallow graves near a day-use area, indicating an attempt to hide the evidence. Following the discovery, the bodies were transported to the medical examiner's office for autopsies. The forensic pathologist concluded that both Jasmine and Aliyah suffered blunt force trauma to their heads, leading to their deaths. That it is very unlikely that Aliyah's injuries resulted from an accidental fall, suggesting that the trauma was inflicted intentionally. But here's a question. What does it say about human nature that someone capable of such violence can appear perfectly normal to those around them? How well do we really know the people in our lives? The discovery of Jasmine Lovett and Aliyah Sanderson's bodies marked a pivotal moment in the investigation, transitioning from a search for the missing to a pursuit of justice for the slain mother and daughter. As the community grappled with the tragic loss, law enforcement intensified their efforts to bring the perpetrator to justice. Following the discovery of Jasmine Lovett and her 22-month-old daughter, Aliyah Sanderson, Robert Leeming was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. These charges were based on evidence linking him to the deaths of both the mother and her child. At the onset of his trial, Leeming admitted guilt to the second-degree murder of Jasmine Lovett, but maintained his innocence regarding Aliyah's death. This partial admission set the stage for a complex legal battle concerning the toddler's tragic demise. The prosecution presented a comprehensive case, detailing the events leading up to the murders. Key evidence included forensic findings, such as the discovery of bloodstains in Leeming's residence and vehicle, and testimonies from acquaintances highlighting Leeming's tumultuous relationship with Lovett. Dr. Akmal Kotsi Khan, the medical examiner, testified that Aliyah's injuries were inconsistent with an accidental fall, suggesting deliberate harm. This testimony challenged Leeming's defense narrative and underscored the severity of the charges. Leeming's defense acknowledged his responsibility for Lovett's death, but argued that Aliyah's death was accidental. They contended that the toddler's injuries could have resulted from a fall, emphasizing the lack of direct evidence proving intentional harm. Taking the stand in his defense, Leeming admitted to lying to authorities to cover up the deaths. He described his actions as attempts to protect himself, further complicating the jury's perception of his credibility. After deliberation, the jury found Leeming guilty of second-degree murder for both Jasmine Lovett and Aliyah Sanderson. This verdict reflected the jury's rejection of the defense's claims regarding Aliyah's death. Leeming received a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 22 years. This sentence accounted for the gravity of taking two innocent lives and aimed to serve as a deterrent for similar crimes. But how do we measure justice in cases like this? Is a prison sentence ever enough for a crime that stole two lives? What do you think? The legal proceedings against Robert Leeming shed light on the meticulous efforts of the justice system to ensure accountability. While the verdict and sentencing provided a measure of justice, the profound loss experienced by the families of Jasmine Lovett and Aliyah Sanderson remains immeasurable. In June 2024, Robert Leeming appealed his conviction for the second-degree murder of 22-month-old Aliyah Sanderson, maintaining that her death was accidental. His defense argued that the medical examiner could not definitively rule out an accidental cause, such as a fall down the stairs, leading to her fatal injuries. The Alberta Court of Appeal reserved its decision after hearing the arguments, indicating the need for thorough consideration of the presented evidence and testimonies. In July 2024, the Alberta Court of Appeal unanimously dismissed Leeming's appeal. Justice Burnett Ho stated that the trial judge made no reversible error and had carefully considered all the evidence, leading to reasonable conclusions about Leeming's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. As of March 2025, Robert Leeming is serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 22 years. He is incarcerated in a maximum security facility in Alberta, reflecting the severity of his crimes and the court's commitment to public safety. Specific details about Leeming's daily life in prison are not publicly disclosed. However, individuals convicted of crimes against children often face challenges within the prison system, including potential threats from other inmates. Correctional facilities typically implement measures to ensure the safety of such individuals, which may include segregation from the general prison population. The case continues to evoke strong emotions among the public, with many viewing Leeming's actions as particularly heinous. Discussions on social media platforms reflect ongoing debates about the adequacy of his sentence and the broader implications for criminal justice policies concerning similar offenses. The dismissal of Robert Leeming's appeal reaffirms the judicial system's commitment to justice for Jasmine Lovett and Aliyah Sanderson. While Leeming remains behind bars, the impact of his actions continues to resonate within the community, serving as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of safeguarding the innocent. In the wake of the tragic deaths of Jasmine Lovett and her 22-month-old daughter, Aliyah Sanderson, the Calgary community united in grief and solidarity. Vigils and memorials were organized to honor their memories, providing spaces for collective mourning and reflection. These gatherings underscored the community's resilience and the profound impact of the loss. Why does it take a tragedy for us to reflect on the warning signs of danger? What can we do differently to protect those at risk before it's too late? Local businesses and residents initiated fundraising efforts to support the bereaved families. For instance, the Cranston Sobeys organized a cupcake fundraiser, selling thousands of cupcakes with proceeds directed to the families. This initiative significantly contributed to the GoFundMe campaign established to cover memorial service expenses, reflecting the community's generosity and compassion. The families of Jasmine and Aliyah expressed profound gratitude for the outpouring of support. Amber Sanderson, Aliyah's aunt, conveyed their appreciation, stating they were overwhelmed by the community support, from messages to condolences and to all the fundraisers. This collective empathy provided a semblance of comfort during an unimaginably difficult time. During the sentencing hearing for Robert Leeming, family members delivered poignant victim impact statements, articulating their immense grief and the enduring void left by the loss of Jasmine and Aliyah. Kim Blankert, Jasmine's mother, and Aliyah's grandmother, shared her struggles with flashbacks, nightmares, and a pervasive fear of potential contact from Leeming. Similarly, Jasmine's sister, Genevieve Lovett, spoke of her battles with depression, anxiety, and the indescribable pain of losing both her sister and niece. The family's statements during the legal proceedings emphasized their desire for justice and accountability. Their heartfelt testimonies highlighted the profound personal impact of the tragedy and underscored the necessity of a legal resolution that honored the memories of Jasmine and Aliyah. The case garnered national attention, with major news outlets across Canada reporting on the developments. The tragic nature of the incident, involving a young mother and her toddler, resonated deeply with audiences, prompting widespread media coverage and public discourse. Media coverage of the case was characterized by a balance between factual reporting and sensitivity to the grieving families. Journalists navigated the ethical complexities of covering such a tragedy, striving to respect the privacy of the victims' loved ones while fulfilling their duty to inform the public. This approach highlighted the media's role in shaping public perception and fostering community empathy. The tragic loss of Jasmine Lovett and Aliyah Sanderson reverberated throughout the Calgary community, eliciting an outpouring of grief, support, and a collective call for justice. The community's response, the family's heartfelt expressions, and the media's dedicated coverage underscore the profound impact of this tragedy and the enduring bonds that unite us in the face of adversity. Before we conclude, ensure you're subscribed to our channel. Stories like Jasmine and Aliyah's need to be told, and your support allows us to shed light on the truths that matter. Domestic violence encompasses a range of abusive behaviors: physical, emotional, psychological, and financial, used by one individual to exert power and control over another in an intimate relationship. Recognizing these signs is crucial for early intervention and support. Experts emphasize that signs of domestic violence are not always overt. Beyond physical injuries, indicators may include increased anxiety, depression, or fearfulness, especially around their partner, withdrawal from friends, family, or social activities, limited access to finances or being monitored on spending, repeated injuries or vague complaints without clear explanations. How many times have you heard about a case of abuse, only to realize the signs were there all along? Would you have noticed them if they were happening to someone close to you? Preventing domestic violence requires a multifaceted approach, which may include implementing programs in schools and communities to promote healthy relationship dynamics and conflict resolution skills, encouraging open discussions about domestic violence to reduce stigma and promote awareness, supporting legislation that protects victims and holds perpetrators accountable. Experts highlight the importance of community involvement, noting that societal change begins with informed and proactive individuals. Individuals facing domestic violence have access to various resources designed to provide safety, support, and empowerment. Facilities offering temporary housing, safety planning, and basic necessities. 24/7 confidential services providing crisis counseling, information, and referrals. Support with obtaining restraining orders, navigating the legal system, and understanding rights. Therapeutic support to address trauma, build self-esteem, and develop coping strategies. The tragic loss of Jasmine Lovett and her daughter, Aliyah Sanderson, in 2019 deeply affected the Calgary community, prompting initiatives to support domestic violence victims. Community organizations have increased efforts to educate the public about domestic violence signs and available resources, fostering a more supportive environment for victims. Annual events commemorate Jasmine and Aliyah, serving as both remembrance and a call to action against domestic violence. The enduring legacy of Jasmine Lovett and Aliyah Sanderson serves as a catalyst for change, inspiring community initiatives that provide support, raise awareness, and foster a collective commitment to ending domestic violence. We've walked through every detail of this case, the lives lost, the search for justice, and the lessons left behind. Jasmine Lovett and Aliyah Sanderson should have had futures filled with love, laughter, and possibility. Instead, their names became headlines, their stories became cautionary tales, and their absence became a painful reminder of the darkness that can exist behind closed doors. But now, the question is no longer what happened. The question is, what happens next? How many more lives will be lost before we start paying closer attention? Before we stop dismissing red flags? Before we choose to believe victims instead of questioning why they stayed? The signs are there. They have always been there. But will you notice them next time? Will you act? If this story has made you think, if it has opened your eyes even a little, then let it be more than just another tragic case. Let it be a reason to speak up, to check in, to pay attention. Because silence has never saved anyone. If you found this documentary impactful, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. We cover real-life cases that deserve to be heard, stories that open eyes and spark conversations. Don't just watch. Be part of the change. Share your thoughts in the comments. What signs do you think people often overlook in situations like this? Would you recognize them if it happened to someone close to you? Do you believe we, as a society, are doing enough to prevent tragedies like this? This isn't just a story. It's a reality that happens far too often. Jasmine and Aliyah's lives were stolen, but their story doesn't have to end here. Now it's your turn to take action. Share this video. Someone out there might need to see this. Someone who feels trapped. Someone who needs to know they're not alone. You never know who you could help by spreading awareness. Most importantly, if you or someone you know needs help, don't wait. Reach out, seek support, and remember, silence protects abusers, not victims.